Hey everybody! Today we're having a fiesta in our house, and so I decided that I was going to make a couple really good appetizers and pair them with some cocktails for my friends. So today we're making a chorizo bean dip, a chorizo queso, and we're pairing that with what we're calling a Corona sunrise and a jalapeno pineapple margarita. Hey everybody, welcome back to In the Kitchen with Delightful Donna. Today we have some really cool appetizers and some drink pairings that I'm going to share with you. And this is a great idea if you're going to have some people over, want to throw something together really quickly. Not a lot of ingredients, pretty simple to make, and it'll impress your guests. So let's get started. So we're going to get started with chopping up some of the ingredients for the queso. And we're just gonna start with an onion. You can use any kind of onion your family likes. My family likes sweet onion, so that's what I use most of the time, but it's completely up to you. So we'll just peel it. We only need about a quarter of this onion. So we'll get it peeled. And we're gonna just chop it kind of small. And then we're gonna saute these in just a little bit of canola oil. Okay, so we have our onion chopped up. Like I said, just, kind of small, not super tiny. You want there to be some texture in your queso, so you don't want them super small. Next, we're gonna do about half of this red pepper. And of course, I've already washed all this produce. And the same here, we're just gonna chop them small, not super tiny. And let's get this one. Listen guys, I'm not a professional chef. I don't have like super great cutting skills, but whatever gets the job done. That's kind of how I see it. All right, let's get these onto our little plate. Just gonna make transferring over to the pan just a little bit easier because we are gonna cook this all at one time. All right, next we have some jalapeno. You can adjust this to what your family preference is. My family likes it not too spicy, but a little bit of a kick to it. So that's what I do. But you can trade this out. If you don't have jalapeno, don't put it in. If you like serrano, use serrano. It's whatever your family prefers. And make it to the heat level that you desire. I'm gonna use 2 jalapenos. These are about average size. And that's gonna make it probably a medium heat, not too spicy. And pro tip for you guys, I don't know if you are in the store and you get confused about how to pick your chilies. For a jalapeno, the best thing to look at to gauge your heat level is gonna be if they're rounded on the end, then that's gonna be a milder pepper. It's still gonna have that jalapeno signature flavor, but it's not gonna have the spice level to it. So what I like to do is use one that is rounded on the end and one that's pointy on the end, and that gives me the perfect heat level. And also remember with these chilies that the capsaicin is in the vein and in the seed. So the more vein that you put in and seed that you put in, the spicier it will be. All right, there's the jalapeno. Now we're gonna do 1 Roma tomato. I like Romas because the flesh is not as juicy, so it doesn't water down what you're cooking, but again, it's your preference. Use any tomato that works for your family, whatever you like best. And again, we're chopping all of this roughly the same size. This is about probably 1/4 to 1/2 inch dice. Plate's getting a little full over here. We'll just pile it on top. It's all gonna go in the same pan, it's fine. Okay, and the next thing is your garlic. I use 2 cloves of garlic. My family likes garlic. We've talked about that before. If you don't like garlic, leave it out. You could use garlic powder if you don't have fresh garlic, or you could use that minced garlic in the jar, whatever your preference is. So now we have our veggies chopped. Now we're gonna make our way over to the stove and we're gonna just saute these up. I have a cast iron pan that has a little bit of canola oil in it heating up on the stove so that it's nice and hot. And we'll make our way over to the stove and meet you over there. Okay, we're gonna just place these all into the frying pan. It's gonna look like it's a little full, but this is gonna cook down a little bit, you guys, so don't worry about that. All right, so we're just gonna saute these up. Just wanna let them go, stir them up a little bit every couple of minutes or so. We're also gonna add a little bit of salt in there to help them start sweating down. Salt releases the moisture from vegetables, so put a little salt in there, it'll help them get softened up and start cooking down. And the recipes for these will be in the description. I won't go through full amounts with you guys as we're going through the video, but the full recipe will be down there for you. And of course, if you guys ever have any comments, questions, suggestions, just put that down in the comment section and I'll answer back. Okay, at the same time that we're getting this going, we're just gonna let that kind of cook off for a few minutes. I'm gonna move over to this other pan on the stove and we're gonna get started with some chorizo. We're gonna use chorizo in both of our appetizer recipes today. One is gonna be the queso, and then the other is gonna be a chorizo bean dip. This is a family favorite. So I just put my pan on medium to high heat and a pound of chorizo because we're gonna divide that between the two recipes. So I'm gonna cook all of it at one time. If I can get this paper off. I'm gonna cook it all at one time and then I'm gonna separate it so that we can put some in each recipe. This is the chorizo that I use. You know, everyone has their personal preference. This is what my family likes. This cooks up more similar to ground beef. So it's gonna be a little bit chunky as opposed to the chorizo that comes in the tube cooks up a lot more greasy. And so this doesn't have, it still has that grease because you need that for the flavor, right? But it just cooks up a little more chunky. So this is gonna cook up more like a sausage crumble. And so that's what we like. So you also could substitute, some people use pork sausage, some people use breakfast sausage, which also is usually pork, but breakfast sausage, you could do Italian sausage, you could do ground beef, ground pork, any other type of ground meat that you like, you could substitute if you don't like that chorizo flavor. I'm just going back and forth between the two burners and keeping an eye on these vegetables that are sweating down, and then getting that chorizo cooked down as well. I'm gonna make sure that your chorizo is cooked really well. So you can see already that these are starting to release some of the juice. And that's gonna make some really good flavor in your queso, and it's also gonna help to thin it out a little bit. We'll talk more about that when we get to the queso portion. All right. I have this handy little chopper, but you know, obviously you could just chop this with a spoon. Completely up to you, but this works really great and makes it fast to just chop it up real fine. Flying chorizo. Okay. All right. You guys leave me down in the comments what your favorite appetizers are to make when you have guests over, or really just for your family, whatever works. This is kind of a go-to for us. My family is all groovers. I have adult children that live in my home, and we just love to snack and munch. And so they love things like this. I'll cook it up on the weekend and just kind of leave it on the counter, and everybody will just kind of snack throughout the day. Both of these dips also work really well if you have one of those small crock pots that you can put on a keep warm function, and you put this in there and let it just keep warm on the counter. It works great. And you don't have to always be going and reheating. All right. Just stirring up these vegetables again like I talked about. Want to get those real soft. All right. And stir up the chorizo again. And this cooks up so fast, you guys, it's almost done already. I'm gonna turn my heat down a little bit. And then I'm going to take out half of this chorizo, and I have another pan over here that I'm going to use to melt the cheese. So I'm just going to take out about half. It doesn't have to be exact. That looks pretty good. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I want to chop this up a little bit more for the bean dip. We don't want super huge chunks in there. All right. Let that cook down just a slight bit more. Then we're going to add some beans and spices to it. These vegetables are almost done. They're getting pretty tender. You can see when the jalapeno starts to change color. It gets a little bit darker. So when we first started, they were bright, bright, bright green. And then you can see they start to get a little darker in color. That's when you know they're starting to get done. And when your onions become translucent. Let that go for just a couple more minutes. All right, now we're gonna add some beans. You guys can use whatever refried beans that you have. I happen to make homemade refried beans every week because my family loves beans. We eat them with almost every meal. And so I always have them prepared. I tend to make a pot of beans on Sunday and use it for the week. So these have been refried with a little bit of cheese and a little bit of lard. And so now we're gonna put them in here and let them heat a little bit with this chorizo. And as they heat, they'll start to loosen up a little bit, which is what we want. If it doesn't get as loose as you want, you can add a little bit of milk to this. You can add a little beer. You could add chicken broth, whatever you like, whatever flavor you'd like to impart. You can put that. Milk makes them just taste really creamy, so that's why I like to use that. Next, I'm going to add some spices. So I have a teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and chipotle powder. You can use any chili powder that you like. I happen to have chipotle powder on hand, so that's what I use. But use whatever you have on hand. You could use cayenne if you have it, but I would use just slightly less because it is a little more spicy. I can see already that I'm going to need to add some milk to this. And it looks like our vegetables are just about done. Let them sweat for just a minute more. I'm going to grab some milk. And make a lot of noise doing it, apparently. All right, put a little bit of milk in there. That's probably about a quarter cup or so. And then we'll see where it goes from there. If it needs to be thinner, we'll add more. If it's too thin, then we'll just cook it and reduce it down till it gets thicker. But remember, anytime you're using beans in a dip, when it's hot, it's going to be thin, but as it starts to cool down to room temperature, then it's going to thicken up a little bit. So you want it to be slightly on the thin side so that it will withstand the room temperature and not get too thick and clumpy. Okay, you can see it thinned out quite a bit. Now we're going to add some cheese because everything's better with cheese. I use Monterey Jack. You use whatever is good for your family. Every recipe I do, there's always alternatives. Whatever works for you guys. I'm putting a handful. That's probably about a quarter cup or so, another quarter cup, so maybe about a half a cup total. Let's just put this down over here and stir it in. Go and check on our vegetables again. Looks like they're there. So this looks good. Alrighty. Let's get that cheese mixed in. You see it's bubbling on the side. This is hot. Almost ready, guys. So you see how fast these came together. This one especially. I think the longest time is just browning that chorizo. And you see how gooey that cheese is. This is going to be delicious. And then we just serve this with tortilla chips, whatever your favorite brand is. Okay, so that cheese is all melted. We're going to put some into a serving dish. You see how stringy that cheese is? That's awesome. As my kids would say, look at that cheese factor. All right. So that's my twist on a real nice bean dip. There you go. All right, we're gonna turn our attention over here to this queso. Let me grab a pot holder so I can lift this pan. Lift up the pan. I'm gonna pull this little pot in front. Hopefully you guys can see down inside this pot. And I'm going to, I already have the chorizo in there that we cooked up earlier and divided from the other pan. Now I'm gonna put all the vegetables in here. Get them all, because we want all that goodness from that pan. All right. All right, so let's put that back there for now. Stir that up, get it incorporated. I'm gonna add my spices now so that I can combine them with this meat mixture and veggies so that it doesn't clump up in my cheese. So I have a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of chipotle powder, and a teaspoon of salt. Most of your flavor is coming from those vegetables that we just sauteed up, so we don't need a lot of spices in this. But again, use your preference, whatever works for your family. All right, now we're going to, I know I'm cheating, guys, but now we're going to chop up some Velveeta cheese. That's the favorite in my house. That's why I use it. You don't have to use it. Use whatever you like. But I'm going to use Velveeta, and I'm going to use about half this block. So we'll measure it there. And then I'm just chopping it up. I'm going to put it in cubes. It's not rocket science here. Just cut it right on this foil. And then I'm going to wrap this other half up anyways in some wax paper and put it in the refrigerator. So we'll start dropping our cubes in. Let that get happy in there. And chop up this side. This is just a rough chop, guys. This is not super fancy. All right, get the rest of this in here. Let me just wash my hands real quick. We're just gonna start stirring this around. Same thing applies to this as it did for the bean dip, is if it needs to be thinned out, you add a little bit of milk. Again, you could add beer, you can add whatever you want, tequila, whatever you like. But we want it to be a little bit thin, like I said, because it kind of is the same rule with those beans. This Velveeta cheese is gonna harden back up if we don't thin it out enough. So, I'm gonna get a little bit of milk in there. Let me grab the milk again. Okay. We'll start with about 1/4 cup, see how it goes. If we need more, we can add more after, once that cheese gets real melted. Okay. So you can see it already really melting down good. This Velveeta melts so fast, and that's one of the reasons I love to use it. It's super easy and versatile, and you can put all your own spin on things. And you guys know that I love doing things with a twist. So again, my twist in this is the chorizo. That's kind of the theme of our day. And stay tuned, guys, because we're gonna make some really great cocktails that go with this. Our little kind of get together today is fiesta themed. So we're gonna make some really great cocktails that are gonna pair so nice with this dip. Alrighty. We're almost there. You see how easy that came together? It doesn't take very long at all. And then once I get this other one made, we'll open up a bag of chips and we'll let my hubby be the taste tester. See how he likes it. All right, it's almost there. Just another minute or so to get the rest of that cheese melted, and then we'll put some into a serving dish. I recommend a non-stick pan for this part of it, because if you burn that cheese on there, it's real hard to get off. All right, so just keep stirring until your cheese is completely melted. And then, looks like we're pretty close. I don't see any big chunks of cheese in there anymore. I'm just gonna grab a bigger spoon to put it into my serving dish, but it looks like it's melted up pretty good. I'll take this one out. Let me grab a serving dish. Look at that, guys. Doesn't that look great? Oh, I made a mess. Shocker. All right, get my paper towel over here and just clean up this side. All right, so there you have it. We have a really nice queso, pretty much from scratch. Again, I used that Velveeta cheese, but pretty much from scratch, guys. It didn't take long at all. Doesn't take a lot of effort to make good homemade food for your family. And let me open up this bag of chips. And we'll get Rich to do a taste test for us. Let's do the bean dip first because that queso is steaming hot. So here's the bean dip. Still got that cheesy. All right, what do you think, Rich?
Delicious as always.
All right.
The taste of the chorizo and the hint of the beans with the cheese, outstanding flavor.
All right, let's try this queso now. That's really steaming hot, so give it a second. What do you think of that one?
The garlic comes through, the creaminess of the cheese, and then you got that back note of the chorizo on the jalapeno. Perfect. I love it every time she makes it.
Great. All right, so now let's make some cocktails to go along with these. Okay, now we're gonna make those cocktails, like I said, to pair with those great dips that we just made, and you saw that Rich enjoyed those. So now we need a drink to go along with it. So obviously I have all of my ingredients here. This is gonna be for 2 different cocktails. So I'm just gonna slide this over, and I'm gonna give myself some, maybe, my lime doesn't wanna cut. There we go. We're gonna give some lime, because we're gonna use a squirt in just each one of those drinks. And then don't freak out. We're gonna use some jalapeno. Don't panic, guys. It's not gonna be too spicy. It's gonna be delicious. All right, so we're just chopping up this jalapeno into rings. And it's okay if a few seeds get in there, not a big deal. Okay, so that's chopped up nice. I'm gonna take these things off of here because I'm gonna need this little plate here in just a second. Oh, got a seed on there. Let's get that off. I wish this top would come off. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I know that looks good, right? Okay, first things first. Now that we're settled, now we're gonna make, the first drink is going to be a jalapeno and pineapple margarita. You guys, this is gonna blow your socks off of your guests. This is so delicious. Let me just grab some ice. Okay, we have our ice in our glass. We are going to use, you guys already know that I have my Patron on tap, so I don't ever measure, guys, but sure, this is a shot. Why not? Yeah, that looks good. All right. Then we have a little bit of margarita mix, your favorite brand. Doesn't have to be Cuervo, whatever you like. Not too much, we don't want it to be too tart. Then we have some pineapple juice. And we've got some jalapenos. And we're gonna stir it up. Maybe if we can find a spoon, we are. Okay, how about a chopstick? That works for me. Alrighty. Okay. That's drink number 1. Super simple, okay? We're gonna get Anthony to try that. Anthony's just off camera. We're gonna slide it over so he can try that and see what he thinks. And then we're gonna get ready for the next one.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, guys, I totally screwed up. I forgot to put my rim. Damn, I guess I have to make another one. Hold on, let me get a glass.
There's no shame there.
We'll make a short one. We'll make a short one. Let me rim first because I screwed that up the first time. So a little bit of lime on your rim. Little tahini. There, that's the way it's supposed to look. Let me get some ice. All right, let's see if we can do it right this time. How's that? A little Patron, because yes. Smaller glass, I guess I'll use a little less, whatever. A little margarita mix. Again, don't want it to be too tart. A little pineapple juice and some jalapenos. Okay, let's give give this one a little stir. Since I did it right this time, we'll have another taste test. Alrighty. All right, another taste test. Doesn't that look beautiful? It looks fancy, but it's not. Taste test. All right, next we're gonna move on and we're gonna make another one. I'm just gonna scoot this up here.
Oh man, that one's awesome with the tahini on it. Oh, delicious.
All right. I know, cardinal sin right now, alcohol abuse, but let me just pour a little bit of this Corona out. Normally I would just drink it, but I don't want to be rude on camera. All right. For this one, a little more. How's that? Better? All right, for this one, you guys, this blew my mind. A little bit of tequila, because of course, you have to have tequila in everything. In my book, you do anyways. A little bit of orange juice. See if I can do this without spilling. Hey, look at me. All right. And a little bit of grenadine. And let me cut this a little bit smaller so it will go inside my bottle. And that is a Corona Sunrise. Again, very simple, doesn't keep you in the kitchen for a long time, lets you enjoy your party with your guests, but you have some beautiful drinks to go along with those great appetizers that we made earlier. And we are ready for a fiesta. So don't forget to like and follow on Instagram at cooking_with_D, and like our YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell at In the Kitchen with Delightful Donna. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day. Bye.